What's up, everybody? And it is Trad Method Monday again. Another one. Imagine that. But so, today's Method Monday is going to be about what I like to call scoop transitions. And when I'm talking about scoop transitions, I am talking about when you take your string and you are going from one track to another. So, coming from, say, the middle track out to the next track. The scoop transition is basically when that string goes through the hole of the leather, or however you decide to do it, at the top. And I'm only going to be going over 2 or 3 different ways how to do that, and just basics. You don't need the super complex stuff. I try to keep it as basic as possible. But so, we're going to be going over this method, as well as 2 other ones. One is going to be your simple transition, and then the next one is actually going to be either your 2-piece, your 3-piece, or even your 5-piece transition from your top to the next track, or starting off, finishing, whatever you might come up with. It's just the basics so that you guys can understand that and kind of understand why it's done. And the main reason that it's really done is, one, you don't want a whole bunch of bulky knots getting in your way. You don't want all sorts of stuff just happening for no reason. The main idea is to, like the term implies, to transition from one section to another. And coming up with your own crazy knots and everything, that's fine. But if you can't properly do it in the first place, why even try and come up with something even crazier? So, I'm going to be using 2 different strings. I'm going to be using this black string, and I'm going to be using this orange string. Now, to start off, obviously we're going to go ahead and pretend that we are going up this trad. So, I'm going to pretend that we're going over. Yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but we're not going over that. We're not going over our interlocks today. We're going over transitions after your interlock. So, we've moved up the head, and we're about to go into our transition. So what you want to do is, when your leathers are properly installed, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do that, but for this one, I did a single one, so there's only one hole in the leather to create this loop that's going on here. Now, you're going to come in from the side, and I will actually give you a little bit better look at this. And it's just, you just push it straight through this loop that is created by the leather itself, going around either the plastic or this removable top string that I have installed in it. So, just very simple, and then you go right into your next section. Continue down, and there is your transition. Very simple, very, very simple. As you can see, it just goes through that simple little loop that is caused by the leather's basically folding it over on itself. And that is the most basic, the most used scoop transition that I know of, that I've ever seen. And that's how all your basic manual pamphlets go. That's how pretty much everybody's going to do it. A lot of people do it this way. The pros, the beginners, the intermediate people, everybody does it this way. It's very simple, very effective. But the main reason why I'm kind of moving away from doing it, except for on my own traditionals or on older guys' traditionals because they're used to it, is the main reason is that when you actually have the use of the pocket, when it's getting the abuse and everything that's going into it, the catching, the throwing, everything, because this is just simply one string, all the pressure from the pocket being pushed in and everything like that is being put right on this loop. So if you take a look at an older, more used traditional, you can actually see that the string is pulling that loop and stretching the leather, and then this transition, this scoop transition, it actually ends up being about here instead of all the way up here where you want it to control tension. And then you have a loose pocket and everything like that, and then you don't get the effect that you want with that pocket. So that's the basic version. Now we're going to go into the second so that you guys can actually see how it's done. Alright, so this is actually going to be the version that I used in my contest head. Don't worry, there will be a live stringing coming soon for this, but it was very simple to understand, and all it is really is you're taking your interlocks, like you're going up the pocket normally, and instead of actually just going straight through that loop, you create another interlock right there, right before your loop, right before it. However you do your leathers, whether you do 2-hole installation or 1-hole or removable top string, I'm going to show you exactly how you do it. Okay? Very, very simple concept. Let me get the strings ready for you. Okay, we're going up again so that we can make our we're making our pocket. One more interlock, and then it's time to transition. Okay, same exact thing. You don't change how you're going. You can either wrap around both pieces of leather as such, or you can go under it and stay under that loop. See how it's under the loop now? And then keeping the tension, you want to hold the tension, so you use your finger or your thumb, and then you put it through that hole. Pull all your, obviously I would keep my hand there, but put all of your slack through. Okay? All the slack is through. At least just pretend, obviously, that is just a full pocket. But all my slack is through from here. And then you don't have to go over, under, whatever. It's just like as if you were continuing the pattern. You would, if you're going over and then under for the whole remainder of the pocket, then you continue to do that. Otherwise, you're just going to do it backwards. So since I went from the back to the front for the first part of this, I'm going to go back to front again because I'm going in the opposite direction. So over, pull my slack through before I pull the leading end through, and bam. That is how you do it. Very, very simple. And then you continue on with the rest of your pocket. Nothing's even changed. Continue on through it. Like nothing. And the idea behind this one is that instead of direct pressure on your folded over your loops, over your holding point basically, instead of direct pressure on that loop, this takes the pressure and puts it on both the loop and the leather itself, the leather below the loop. So anything that's really going on pressure-wise and abuse-wise is not taken on the loop. It is taken down here. Yeah, I'm saying it over and over again because I emphasize. So get over it. But so that's your simple. That's stage 2. And I mean, you can do all your crazy variants if you want, double it, whatever you want to do. It's very simple to just make a different variant of it. And the great thing is, if you do it right, which I kind of did, well, I pretty much did do it right, but if you do it right, it's very hard to have it come undone easily. So it comes right out when you want it to. Alright, now we're going to move into multi-piece traditional scoop transitions. So we tie our knot like we're going to be creating the next thing. So basically what you do is whichever hole you decide to do this on, if you don't do a removable top string, I would strongly recommend doing a multi-string transition, scoop transition, from the very top stringing hole, the very top sidewall hole. So I had it in the second one. We're going to go through the top one to not take up space for the rest of the pocket. And what you're going to do is we're going to be going to our center track area instead of making all these bulky designs and stuff that get in the way and really have no purpose and just look good. Instead of doing that, we're just going to do this method. This method is very simple, very straightforward. You take your string, you go through your very first hole, well, your loop, your second loop, and you pull straight through. Okay? And then you go right into it as if it were nothing. Now for a multi-string, you need to kind of plan it out, because if you don't plan out which strings are coming from where, it gets mixed up. So for this one, if I were going to be doing this section, I would either come from this far side, which I usually do. I would come from this very far side, come through the leathers again. I can get the string through, huh? Get your string through. Oh, missed. And that's the reason why this can become complicated, because it'll pop through the front of that leather. But so feed it through there, feed it through here, and then you feed it through this one and then this one, so that it comes all the way across. And this can actually be done many different ways, whatever way that works best for you. If I try to make it so that there's a lot less string on the head, so more likely than not, I'd usually go from just this side. But since we're already almost all the way there, we're going to continue forward. And the thing is with the multi-piece traditionals, like how I'm doing it, this can actually put a little bit more pressure and put a little bit more bulk on your leathers up top. But so it works. It doesn't create the same sort of pressure that a regular transition does. It takes a little bit of pressure off of that. But so this hole is not cooperating. Maybe because I didn't harden my string well enough. But so I came through the front of it, but we're going to just keep going with it. And then you go right into the next thing, as if it weren't even a multi-string. And this way you can actually have a lot of different stuff. And with the multi-string though, you have to pay attention if you're going back to front or front to back, because you're not snaking. Because you're actually snaking in a one-string traditional, if you're snaking in a one-string, all you're doing is doing the same exact pattern, but it's just flipped. So going up one, transitioning, coming back down, and so if you're doing back to front loops or interlocks, if you're doing back to front interlocks, they sync up. You don't have to try and switch it up on a single string. With a multi-string, you have to, because they're all coming from the same direction. So this orange one was back to front. If I'm going to go through this orange, I have to go front to back. I know it can get confusing, but hey, it all works out in the end. So see, if I were to tighten all this up, it would match up. And then I can continue going either back to front, front to back on the opposite leather. But I have to follow the pattern. You have to follow how the pattern goes. Otherwise, it's pointless. And with a 5-string or a multi-string traditional, you're not going to be able to end in the plastic with every piece of string. Sure, you can come up with your own little crazy knots and stuff at the bottom to get it to just jump over into the plastic, but that doesn't usually look that good. A lot of people can't pull that off to where it looks good, and it just doesn't look good. I mean, you want it to function, but you also want it to look good and not fall apart because you kind of cheated. But so when you're doing a 5-string, obviously you're going to come from the side, go down the middle, and then you're going to come from the sides and go down the center tracks. And with that happening, you're going to have to actually tie it around your leathers. And that's where the method where I don't really like to do it, but sometimes when somebody wants a traditional this way, I do have to make the exception and actually cut holes. And I've talked about it before in Instagram and stuff, but I've used these. These are actually leather hole punch pliers. I mean, they have all sorts of different names, but this is what I use to put holes in my leathers when I need to put strings through them. But so that's basically it. That's the 3 most common ways to do your scoop transitions for any traditional. Doesn't matter if it's a PETA or if it's a classic or if it's a Trad X or anything like that. That's what a lot of people use. So hopefully it was clear enough for you guys. I don't have a good enough camera to really do real zoomed up and all fancy stuff, but I'll figure it out eventually and be able to show you guys what I'm talking about a lot clearer than what we are doing right here. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you can string something beautiful now because I helped you with this. So like, comment, subscribe. I will catch you guys later.